Hi, I'm Dave. Welcome to the channel. In part 4 of the Pioneer charger build, we're going to finish off Don's charger. I've always wanted to do this. Previously on Dodge Charger project build. Yeah, I can't carry on with that. Anyway, in part 1, as you may remember, we took a standard Pioneer charger that was a factory second with a paint defect and went through the home racing world stuff and made it run better. In part 2, we stripped the paint off the body and modified it so that it had a 500 rear window. You probably know this because you've already watched these videos. And in part 3, we painted it up and put the decals on, or decals, or decals. Your choice. And the plan was to create this version of Don White's Dodge Charger. So, with a nicely completed paint and decal set, it's time to start putting things back together. So I painted the front and the back, took them apart, sprayed up the bits that were silver so they were yellow, and reassembled them. Now we have a glass here. Now we have to remove that rear window because we don't need it anymore, because we have a new piece of plastic to put in as our new rear window. And lots of people suggested using Zap Canopy Glue 560 formula for this job, so I'm going to try that. Apparently it dries clear and it doesn't mist up any plastics. Other things we need to do in this video, and it's going to be a long video I'm afraid, is modify up the chassis a bit. I'm going to take all the edges off with a Dremel, and I need to remove those silly red and blue exhaust pipes. I've got some side pipes to glue on the side instead. Again, Jules really does do a really good job on the spares and the other accessories for Pioneer cars, because you can also get good old-fashioned 5-lug steel wheels. Look at those, that looks like proper NASCAR wheels to me. And Don White drove cars with Goodyear tyres on, and you can get front and rear, and they're for the Mustang and the Camaro, but they'll fit. The rear ones are bigger than the front ones. Goodyear labels on them, so that fits the car and will look right. And then we need to deal with the interior. I've taken the second seat out. Race cars don't have a passenger seat. I've got these door cards. Not sure what I'm going to do with those yet. More accessories, a roll bar, and Don. It is an unpainted historic style driver, so he's got an open face crash helmet and a pair of goggles, which I think is probably right for Don. So on with this, let's try this Canopy 560 glue. I'll get a bit of masking tape because I need to hold that piece of plastic still once I've glued it in. So I'll try a bead of this Canopy glue round here, and we'll see if it works. So apparently this stuff takes up to 3 hours to go off properly. So I'll stick it down with these bits of masking tape to hold it in the right place. That should do it. Now this glue can squeeze out a bit, but it doesn't matter. If you get a cotton bud with a bit of water on it, you can wipe it off while it's still wet. So I'll pop a bit more masking tape in just on the sides so the whole thing's held in properly while the glue dries. So moving on, it's time to glue the front piece and the back piece back onto the shell. Just check that they are seated nicely. And just use some thick CA glue for this. The thick stuff simply because it's not going to run out the sides and spoil the paint, and it's going to add a little bit of reinforcing when it dries solid as a blob on the back there. So front and back of those. And it is starting to look more like a car again. So time to deal with this rear window. And there really is only one way to deal with that. There, that's got that sorted. So it should now fit back in the shell and clear the rear window that we've just glued in. So that's all good. The next thing I need to deal with is these champion stickers on the windows. Now, there is no easy way of doing this. You're going to need a cotton bud. You're going to need some isopropanol. You know, this is some old stuff that I used to strip a body shell with, and you're going to need a cup of coffee because it's going to take a little while. There's no magic here. You just have to soak the sticker in the alcohol and wait a little bit. And then just scrub at it and scrub at it and scrub at it. And eventually it will come off. There we are. And as it's been a while, we can take this masking tape off here and check the canopy glue out now. Yeah, that's worked really well. Yep, very happy with that. So I can fit the glass in, and I might use a bit more canopy glue just under the back there. The front clips in because it's sort of fitted round the quarter lights and the front windscreen pillars. But a bit of canopy glue on the back there, that'll hold that in lovely. So let's turn to the chassis. I said I was going to shave quite a lot off it. So it's Dremel time. Now the plan here is just to take enough off all the way around the chassis that it no longer touches the body shell other than where the 4 screw holes are. So all the side rails and the front and the back. And I said we needed to get rid of these silly blue and red exhausts. So I just sliced the melts off and pushed them out, and that's got rid of those. bit more work. So hopefully, as you can see, the body shell and the chassis are now not touching each other. There's a bit of gap either side. I'll show you, look, there we are. And there's certainly a gap around the ends. Could probably take a little bit more off front and back. So we've lost quite a lot of weight on the chassis now, but it will help things in the end. Yeah, plenty of clearance. So there's plenty of room for the body to float on the chassis a little bit. So I was quite happy with that, and then I looked at it and I didn't think the car was sitting right. So I decided it needed to be lowered, so the wheels tucked up further underneath the body. As you can see, I've got a lip front and back now, where I've managed to get these wheels to tuck up quite nicely into the wheel arches. Now that was a saga, and I haven't filmed all of it, because it did go on and on a bit. I needed clearance. So the little diode that was on the top of the motor, I extended the wire so that I could tuck that down, and it removed some of the height from all of that. I then got the Dremel out again and clearanced the rear arches on the inside. So that plastic is considerably thinner than it was before now, but the tyres don't rub. And I've removed everything that stuck up on the body shell apart from the 4 posts, which I have ground down shorter in all 4 corners so that the body then sits down, and everything else is hopefully removed out of the way to give me enough room for the interior to go back in as well. On that subject, that required a bit of modification to get it to sit up higher in the body. I'll get another one that isn't modified and show you. So there's a lot here. For a start, I've removed those downstand pieces from the back. I've removed both of these rails, these 2 pips, and then I've sanded down the underfloor beneath the seats. I mean, it's paper thin now, but it is still just about there. And then on the front edge, because I had to make some clearance for the front edge of the chip, and then this plug sticks up, so I had to grind a bit out of there as well. And I thought that was going to be enough, but it wasn't. So as you can see, I've removed most of the front of the dash that goes under the body, and that then allows that to sit up underneath those pegs there. As you can see, it's now actually sitting quite high up inside the body shell. It is just about enough for the amount I've lowered the body posts, but it took hours of fettling that about to get it right. Oh, and I've painted up Don as well. There he is. He had overalls that had a red and a yellow and a blue stripe on them, so we should be able to fit Don in there. What I haven't tried yet is fitting Don in there in that seat. I suspect I might have to lower the seat a little bit, and the roll bar will go in there, but again I suspect I might have to lower the roll bar a little bit as well, because obviously The roof of the car is lower inside. I think I'm going to just dispense with these door cards. They seem like they're just going to be something else that will rattle, and I don't need them to, and they're going to cause me clearance issues. So moving on, Don's glued in. I think he needs to be a bit lower. I've built up a bit of roll cage and painted it grey because you won't see it inside the car otherwise, and I've added a few extra bits using some cocktail sticks or toothpicks. So there's a bit of extra structure in there, and I'll paint that grey as well. And indeed, Don's seat did come out and get lowered, and I did have to chop a little bit out of the roll bar as well, just to make it all fit. And now to make it fit and stick and not rattle, I'm just going to use some of my favourite blue tack, because once it's stuck in, it will stay there. And it's a soft connection, so it won't ever rattle. And if I do need to take it out, I can of course peel the blue tack back off. But no rattles at all. Brilliant. And this should now all fit together. So I put all 4 screws in. Then I'll back them all off about half a turn. And because I've slightly enlarged the holes in the body, in the chassis that the screws go through, and we have room to move between the chassis and the body, we've now got a little bit of float and a little bit of movement. Just about right. And everything fits. And the tyres tuck up nicely. And nothing rubs. So there we are. I think that is done. Let's have a bit of a montage. And of course you want to see it run on the track a bit, don't you? Lots of fun to drive. Quite tail happy at the moment, but I deliberately didn't clean my track before I ran this car so I could get some tail out footage. Lots and lots of fun. And it looks like Don's car. So there we are. That is my Pioneer Dodge Charger project. This is Don White's Dodge Charger. A car that 132 scale slot cars seems to have completely overlooked. I don't quite know why. Maybe there's a rights issue or something. But it's a great car, and Don was a great driver. And it was a great little journey learning about Don, getting the bits together, and building this car. I hope you enjoyed the journey as well. And we'll do another one at some point. The only thing that bothers me slightly is that Dodge logo on the side there isn't quite straight. And I could have done that back valance a bit better. But the one on that side is fine. As always, thanks for watching one of my videos. If you liked it, you will find a button specifically for that. Please subscribe to the channel, it really does help. And if you hit the bell, you'll get a notification the next time I post a video. And of course, check out this slot car channel.